Madam Chair, the President is simply not able to lead his party to embrace the economic reforms necessary to save our economy. So, speech after speech, year after year, we have the language of reform with absolutely no progress to speak of. We have a government who says they want to do everything, but isn't doing anything. The government just isn't working. The President's State of the Nation address could have been a refreshing moment of honesty about what has gone wrong and what the government plans, a credible plan to resuscitate his presidency and our economy. Instead, what we got last Thursday were platitudes, fantasies, and stale, reheated promises that no one can take seriously anymore. The government sure isn't working, but it is spinning. Last year, I asked the President to supply me a detailed list of the 250 billion rand in new investments in implementation phase, quote unquote, that he trumpeted in his SONA. The list he sent in response includes, for example, the purchase of a minority equity share in Hollard Insurance for 5 billion rand. That is not foreign direct investment, it's just spin. It includes 79 billion rand in so-called staying in business spending by Anglo-American, which they literally have to spend just to keep the mines open. That's like saying that every shop owner in South Africa who pays their electricity bill is investing. It's all spin. Last week, in his address, he told us that pledged investments is now an incredible 773 billion rand. What are these investments? Where are they? Look around, Mr. President. Businesses are closing by the thousands. Nearly 2 million more people are unemployed. If there were that many real investments happening in South Africa, every city skyline would be dotted with dozens of cranes. Workers would be queuing to collect their hard hats, ready for their new jobs. But there are no cranes. And the only queues we see are the ones that the minister coming now to speak at douses with her water cannon as they wait for their COVID grant. The fact is that these investments are smoke and mirrors. There aren't any investments because the government isn't working. We have all seen the factories with the dusty, broken windows, shut for months as businesses have moved out. We've seen the shop windows covered in signs saying "to let," vacant space, waiting for new owners who just aren't coming. South Africa is tired of waiting for this reform program. And South Africans are tired of being spoken to as if it's their fault. The President and his Finance Minister keep speaking to us as if they are spectators sitting in the stadium watching the game. The Minister sends out his daily Twitter homilies about opportunity costs and the dangers of debt, and then presents a budget with much more debt. Stop telling us about it and do something about it. The President ended his speech telling us, "Your country calls on you to rise," quote unquote. I could say the same to him. Your country has been waiting for you to rise, Mr. President. You are not a spectator, you are the President. Do something. But now the country is done waiting. South Africans can't look to you for leadership in turning this around. And we here love this country too much to just watch it decline. So we're going to get on and fix it ourselves. We've got to find ways to reform in spite of the inaction of this government. We need fresh thinking, new ideas, and real leadership. That is why, as my colleague has said, we will table an agenda for change, bringing to this House every reform that South Africa needs to make government work and get South Africans into work. We can show South Africa what is possible if government actually worked. Working governments are not just implementers of national government policy, but innovative hubs of fresh ideas and city-led development. Working governments will end load shedding over time to protect residents from Eskom. Working governments will be the engine of our national recovery. Working governments love small business and nurture enterprise. If you run a food stall or a clothing stall, or if you sell traditional medicine at the bus stop, this government harasses you, takes your goods, and sees you as a problem to be stamped out. We here call you a budding entrepreneur, and we want to help you grow. It is entrepreneurs like you, not the government, who are going to turn South Africa around. When last did the president actually talk to a small business owner and ask what he can do to help? It's never happened. Well, this morning, I spent time talking with small business owners here in Cape Town who are going through an unbelievably difficult time. And I want to say to them today, and small business owners everywhere, you've used every cent of your savings to carry on paying the bills. You've leaned on friends and family to keep the doors open. You've moved heaven and earth to save every job you can. Our country owes you as much a debt of gratitude as it does to the frontline workers who have nursed the sick. You are the reason I know South Africa can prosper one day. Madam Chair, the reforms we need to save our beloved country won't happen because the government has given up on the founding vision of the new South Africa. The idea of a united, prosperous South Africa, where every person has a chance to live a life of dignity and free of poverty. That is the vision of our Constitution, which inspires us still on this side of the House and which we are still dedicated to building. But it will take leadership to reaffirm our founding values and courage to see it through when the going gets tough, as it is so tough now. That is why we can and we will lead the economic reform agenda here in Parliament, with or without you. That is why our local and provincial governments can and will lead the reform agenda where we govern with or without you. That is the wellspring of a new sense of possibility and hope in South Africa. And that is what should inspire every South African who has gone through this year of incredible difficulty, that the future can be much better despite this government. That is the wellspring, the sense of possibility of hope, because in the end, the choice facing South Africa is between a government that works and a government that doesn't work. And we here are the government that works. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Hill-Lewis.